How's it going, Jets fans? Welcome back to Fireside Jets with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're discussing the Jets' playoff hopes and the current look at the standings, the expected schedule coming up, or the schedule coming up for this team. Obviously, bye week, get some much-needed rest, and coming off a huge win against Buffalo, perfect time to go into the bye off a humongous win, looking over to the future and saying, okay, Buffalo just lost another game to the Minnesota Vikings in what was probably the game of the year. It was just absolutely insane. And luckily, the Vikings come out on top, which favorable for the Jets, obviously. And this is an opportunity for them. You know, the gangrene has an opportunity here to compound on the success they've built over the past few weeks. Now, the schedule isn't that bad. It's definitely not easy. There's some difficult teams that always give the Jets a lot of problems. The Bears are playing a lot better right now. The Patriots always give them fits, but you have the Vikings and then the Bills again. So, you know, definitely a tough stretch there. And then, of course, Lions, Jaguars, 2 winnable games. Seahawks, a winnable game. They're still pretty good with Geno Smith having this resurgent, ridiculous season. And then the Dolphins, who are obviously fantastic. So, the schedule upcoming is not easy, but, you know, they could easily win these games with the defense they've been playing recently, and it ultimately comes down to outscoring your opponent, obviously. So, you know, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this Jets team coming out of the bye week against the Patriots, your optimism regarding them, and anything you think they need to kind of tweak moving forward to give themselves a competitive advantage to win some more games down the stretch here?
Definitely, Alex. I think what we've seen through the first 9 games of 2022 for the Jets to this point is just an elite defense that's going to routinely keep them in games, whether it be defending the run, the pass rush, the pass coverage, the talent that they have on all 3 levels, the depth from that point. The Jets defense is a special group that obviously is coming off of an awesome game, and you know that they're alone going to keep the Jets in games by themselves. And I think from that standpoint, you look at the special teams who in most weeks has really delivered with timely contributions for this team. And the main point really, I just think, is going to be the Jets not beating themselves. And you look, since Zach Wilson has returned, the Jets have a 5-1 record. And you look at the turnover battle in those 6 games, all 5 wins the Jets have. They won the turnover battle. The one game against the Patriots, they lost it. And I think the turnovers, the penalties as well. You look in a couple of the Jets losses this year, you know, just untimely penalties. And, you know, that all comes back down to just the mental focus, the self-inflicted wounds that they obviously always talk about. You know, keeping those in a minimum is going to be, you know, paramount for this Jets, obviously the offense, but the team as a whole, you know, to win games and to keep building on this impressive start that they've had. I think obviously the talk of now winning the division, you know, really comes into focus with the Bills, like you said, obviously dropping that game at home yesterday. And you just look within the division, starting with the Bills. I mean, their last 10 quarters of play, dating back to the game against the Packers in the second half, you know, really hasn't been great. Obviously, they're a bit banged up with Josh Allen and, you know, defensively, some of the injuries they've had. You look at the Dolphins' 4 remaining road games against the 49ers, the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Bills, you know, all pretty difficult games there. And then obviously, if the Jets can beat the Patriots this week, you know, they had the tiebreaker at the moment with the Dolphins, you know, beating them head to head there in week 5. So obviously, if they're both 7-3, the Jets for now get the nod, you know, at the top of the division. And from that standpoint, then, you know, have a 2-game lead, a full 2-game lead with 7 games left in the season over the Patriots, I think is, you know, it gives you a comfortable, you know, lead on them as well. So obviously it's going to be competitive. This is the best division in the NFL. Obviously, when you look across the 8 divisions in the league right now, and, you know, the Jets currently sit as the 5th seed in the AFC, but they've obviously surpassed expectations at this point. And, you know, when you beat a team like the Bills, I think it only continues to give you more and more confidence that the Jets can, you know, match up and beat these, you know, prime opponents they have the back half of the season.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, there was a lot of Bills fans. It was borderline a Bills home game, that Jets-Bills game last week. And I'll tell you what, you know, this is a team that has the defense to beat anybody. They say defense wins championships, right? I think the Jets legitimately have a world Super Bowl caliber defense at this point in time. Sauce is elite. DJ Reed is playing at a high level. Quinn Williams is elite. Jermaine Johnson, a lot of contributions from their rookies. Michael Carter II, really good nickel corner. CJ Mosley's playing well this season. Quincy Williams obviously has stepped up his game. They've gotten a lot of production out of a lot of these players. And I still have Carl Lawson over there, who's really, really talented. And LaMarcus Joyner has looked pretty solid too, as that veteran kind of stopgap, I guess you'd say, at free safety. So right now they're getting a lot of production out of a lot of their players, and the defense is getting better and better as the season goes on, and that's a really good sign. I mean, they made Josh Allen look pedestrian, guys, right? You guys just witnessed yesterday against Minnesota. Josh Allen with a hurt elbow looked very good, very good. The Jets made him look pedestrian, and that is not I wouldn't even sit here and say this was a bad game for Josh Allen. The Jets made him have a bad game. They made him beat them with his legs. They made him take risks that he didn't otherwise want to take, and they resulted in turnovers. And you're seeing what great defense does to good quarterbacks, and that is it's confused them, and it makes them make unnecessary throws and unnecessary risks, and the Jets capitalized on that, and Sauce capitalized on that specifically. So, when you're looking at this team right now, it's going to boil down to the offense. It's going to boil down to how many points can they score, because they're going to limit their opposition to minimal points. If I'm looking at the schedule right now, the Patriots, I don't think they score over 20 points against the Jets. The Bears, maybe 22, 23. Justin Fields is doing really, really well right now with his legs. The Vikings, that's going to be fun to watch. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson against DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner against Justin Jefferson is going to be so much fun to watch. I'm so excited for that matchup. But then you're looking at, the Bills. Obviously, you just beat them. So you're looking and saying, okay, we're capable of beating the Bills. And maybe you get some guys back healthy too. Maybe you get some tools back down the stretch there. And, maybe Max Mitchell comes back, adds a little bit of depth there. And then, the Lions, obviously a team you can definitely beat. You can limit them to under 20 points. Jaguars, same thing. Seahawks, same thing. Dolphins, Tua's playing really, really well, but I also think you can limit them. It's going to come down to Zach Wilson, as it always does. Can he play well? And against the Bills, he looked decent. He only scored 20 points, so it's not exactly what you want, but they're still getting James Robinson involved. Zach was 18 for 25, 154 yards and a score. Didn't make too many bad throws or bad decisions. Did have that one fumble. But otherwise, the running game definitely picked it up. Michael Carter looked really solid, 12 carries for 76 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. But, Ryan, when you're looking at this Jets offense, how important is it that they elevate their game down the stretch here? Because, 20 points is not going to do it. 17 points against the Patriots in the L, 16 points against the Broncos. They've scored 20 points or more once in the last 3 games. They had 27 against the Packers, 40 against the Dolphins. This is a team that has the capacity to score points, but, who's got to step up here? What are you looking at after the bye to say, who has to rise to the occasion and really elevate this team?
So there's a couple of, key players who I think you really look at and say can give this Jets offense potentially more here, the second half of the year. I think you just start with the players who were returning from injury, Corey Davis, George Fant, Max Mitchell, to get all those players back in the fold for this offense, especially with Zach, like we said, helping up front with the offensive line, getting a possession target with a ton of size over the middle, and Corey Davis, who Zach absolutely trusts. We know that. And I would even say, from that standpoint, you're adding Elijah Moore in a different role for this offense. And, we said it on the episode last week. I mean, getting Elijah Moore going in this offense gives them a whole different, ceiling, and the potential just comes even through the roof more, for this offense the second half of the year, with what Elijah can do in the slot, manufacturing touches for him, what he's able to do after the catch. I think is huge, for Zach to pile up those passing yards, the touchdowns that we all want to see really go up here the second half of 2022. I think getting Elijah going, and obviously from there having Garrett, at the X position, gives Zach a little bit more of a contested catch, jump ball target on the outside. So I think just the more multiplicity, that this offense just continues to muster up week by week. And, the more that Michael Ford can find the balance, obviously, James Robinson is another key point in this thing. And just the more acclimation that he gets to this offense, learning it week by week and getting healthy as well. I mean, he was playing through some sort of injury in that Bills game as well. So I think that the health and just the, adding the multiplicity to this offense, with the extraordinary skill talent we know they have, I think is what potentially gives this Jets offense, a greater ceiling, the rest of the year. And it gives them that much of a better chance of winning this division.
100%. They can win this division. I think that they probably get squeaked out by Miami just by a player, just by a game or two. But look, if they win, if they get the second place and they get the wild card, they may see the Bills in the wild card. You know what I mean? Like this could end up being in that kind of situation. Where they see the Bills in that big game right there. And, Josh Allen in the playoffs is another beast. But I'll tell you what, it's going to come down to Zach. If Zach plays well, they can win games here. That defense is good enough to win games in the playoffs. So I am very curious to see how this Jets team continues to build, how they continue to, inject new pieces and really maybe use old pieces like Elijah Moore. They didn't really do much with him against the Bills, but when he gets that full transition through the slot, very curious to see how he kind of performs and if they start to give him more targets and if he starts to excel, like he did with Ole Miss. So there's a lot of variables here. Garrett Wilson looks like a veteran already. Tyler Conklin's been a great asset for Zach Wilson. He loves those tight ends. So I'm pretty optimistic. Offensive line's been pretty decent as of late. So we'll see how they continue to grow. They just can't have any more injuries. The chemistry, the loss of chemistry is just awful. Like one day they're down both tackles, and the next day they're down the reserve tackle. It's like, got to have consistency for the offensive lines to play better. So hopefully they can do that. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below on this Jets team. And do you think they can make a real push at the playoffs? Right now, I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking that their defense is good enough to do it. That's the key. But again, the other key, the catalyst really, is Zach Wilson scoring more than 20 points a game. Because the defense can hold teams to under 20 points, but can the Jets score more than 20 points? That's the question we need answering. And right now, we're not so sure. Zach's got to be a little bit better. He's got to score more points. And that will be the determining factor if they, push past the wild card round, or if they make the playoffs at all. So I'd love to hear your perspectives below. As always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.